Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream, and today is August the 23rd. We are in August, and it is already the 23rd of the month. Good morning to you. Good morning. Looking forward to our Just for Today in a meditation for August the 23rd. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our Hood Recovery Services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. I tell you, today has been an interesting today has been an interesting day. There has been quite a bit of warfare, if I could say it, complications all morning long. And I just really wanted to see if I could get rid of this headache before I got in to do the podcast. But I just decided, you know what? You guys have been rocking with me for um, not quite half a year, but we've been together quite a few mornings, and I really haven't held anything back from you up until this point. And I just could not see the purpose in trying to get rid of this headache, knowing that I have a full day ahead of me. I could not see not doing the podcast because of a headache. And I just invite you into that space with me because it's important that we understand that our recovery process does not stop because of our physical ailments. It doesn't stop because of other people's decisions. Our recovery continues no matter what. And I wanted to make sure that I just invited you into that space with me today. We'll get into that more, but let's go ahead and do the decision making just for today in a meditation. Okay. The title is Decision Making. Before we got clean, most of our actions were guided by impulse. Today, we are not locked into this type of thinking. Basic text, page 90. Life is a series of decisions, actions, and consequences. When we were using, our decisions were usually driven by our disease, resulting in self destructive actions and dire consequences. We came to see decision making as a rigged game, one we should play as little as possible. Given that, many of us have great difficulty learning to make decisions in recovery. Slowly, by working the 12 steps, we gain practice in making healthy decisions, ones that give positive results. Where our disease once affected our will and our lives, we ask our higher power to care for us. We inventory our values and actions, check our findings with someone we trust, and ask the God of our understanding to remove our shortcomings. In working the steps, we gain freedom from the influence of our disease, and we learn principles of decision making that can guide us in all our affairs. Today, our decisions and their consequences need not be influenced by our disease. Our faith gives us the courage and direction to make good decisions and the strength to act on them. The result of that kind of decision making is a life worth living. Just for today, I will use the principles of the 12 steps to make healthy decisions. I will ask my higher power for the strength to act on those decisions. Very powerful reading. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Please and thank you. Just for today, right? This is a beautiful meditation, and it's one that I believe there's so there's so much in it that I may not have the time to actually do it justice, but I'm going to give it my best go. Decision making, I believe, is just like listening. Do you remember when this saying came out, the art of listening, or listening is an art? They were talking about active listening, the ability to listen to individuals with your complete attention and then to feed back to them, paraphrase for them what you heard them to say, and give them an opportunity to correct what you heard them to say and how you understand it. And it went a long way for improving relationships because now we're no longer just sifting, the decoding information that's being sent to us through our own filters and not having it corrected, right? Because we would decode it and get upset or be upset or stew about it, but not give the person that delivered the message an opportunity to resend it and make the correction so that we had the right understanding. So when we start talking about active listening or listening as an art, we were talking about the ability to actually be present with people in that moment and listen to them and feed it back to them what we understood and give them a chance to make the correction. So now we're on the same page. Okay. And even in that process, we have the ability to agree to disagree without being disagreeable. Okay. So this to me, decision making is an art. And they give you the steps for the decision making. In the second paragraph, right? It says that we are able to gain practice in making healthy decisions that give us positive results. We inventory our values. I'm right here if you need to see exactly where I'm at. We inventory our values and our actions. Checking our findings with someone we trust. That's part 2. Part 3 is asking the God of our understanding to remove our shortcomings, right? And then it goes on to ask for the strength to act on them, okay? The strength to act on them. So now this is like a 4 or 5 step process of making a decision. Doing a tummy check. How do I feel about this situation? What am I thinking about? How am I processing this information and this decision that I have to make? Okay, even if it was wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, when masks were no longer mandatory, where were you with that? Did you feel that the mask was about just protecting yourself from other people, or did you feel that the mask was about also protecting other people from you? Right? Where were you at? Where were your core values about this mask? Or was it that we've been inconvenienced so much now? I definitely am not. If someone wants some protection, let them protect themselves. I'm not going to go into the store and be uncomfortable, right? Or maybe you had a breathing issue and so you're not able to, so that changes even your core value of goodwill toward humanity. Now it changes everything because now you can barely breathe trying to wear a mask. You look at, when you're making a decision about something, you look at your values. And then you take your values and let your actions be guided by your values. If you're not an introspective person and you've been used to doing things off of the fly, because we try to avoid decision making, basically. We try to subvert it, sidestep it, let other people make the decisions so that we could always have an excuse to use. I can't believe he did that. My own sister didn't even call me and tell me my mother was in the hospital with COVID. I can't even, right? We allow other people to make the decisions, and then we get to react the way that we want to. It was very self-serving, allowing others to make decisions. Okay, so we kind of avoided it so that we wouldn't have to carry the weight of the responsibility of the outcome, and we would be able to rest on our laurels and use it for our benefit, however that was. Okay, but today we don't do that anymore, right? I'm hoping today we are learning the art of making decisions. And so you take your value system and then you let your actions be guided by your core values. You touch in with someone else. You run this by somebody else. You invite someone else into your thought process. Girl, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Tell me if this makes sense, or is this just me being, edgy, too moody? This is what I'm thinking about doing. I want to do so and so, but every time I interact and I go out and I do this particular thing, I always come back and I have to pay a high price for what I would consider self-care. And the issue usually is that my husband thinks we don't have the money for it. I believe we do because I'm doing all the budgeting and paying all of the bills. And this is just a small excursion that I do every year with my girlfriends. And I just really this year don't want to argue and fight. We're almost to the point where our mortgage is paid off. I just don't want to argue and fight, but I also feel like I don't want to let my girls down because, hey, we do this every year. They just don't know that every year I have to endure like 2 weeks of arguing about finances when I come home. What do you think? Scary, right? Just that example alone, it it puts you in a different mindset. Now I'm going to actually run this by somebody that I trust. I'm not, no, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure I'm ready for that one, right? Why would I invite someone to help me make my decision? Check this out. In recovery, if it's not practical, it's not spiritual. Why would you not invite another person that you trust into hearing your process? I mean, let's not be arrogant, right? Let's not be too proud to admit that no man is an island. Self-sufficiency is a lie. We're fully self-supporting, but the idea that we're in this world by ourselves and what we do affects no one is not realistic. What is wrong with running that by someone? The very thought or the hesitancy of inviting someone in to hear our process and what we're thinking about doing, avoiding that is a red flag, really. Because we should be willing to sort out our decisions, especially if they're going to affect us in a major way and other people. We should be willing to consider that. Let me run this by my girl and see what she thinks. Let me talk to my boy and see what he thinks, right? Let me talk to my husband, see what he thinks. And after we do that, right? We can ask God. Now, God, I've got input from one other person I trust. These are my values. These are the things I'm thinking about doing. I've checked my motives. They don't seem to be obscure or out of whack in any kind of way. God, if there is a character defect that is operating in this situation, please, please, please. I don't want to fall short trying to push my will. Please reveal it so I can deal with it and then move forward. See, now we're giving time. Patient doesn't mind being patient doesn't mind waiting, right? Patience can wait without a disgruntled attitude. That's real patience, right? So this process. That's why it's okay when people come to you with things to be able to say, let me give that some thought and get back to you. Because the last thing that you want to do is make a commitment and then you're people pleasing. You go ahead and do it and you're not okay. Your core values are violated, right? So this is a beautiful meditation. It's one that I want you to have an ongoing practice of considering your decisions. I think that would be really powerful in your recovery journey, right? And then when you start seeing that because you're taking the time to make proper decisions, right? You're getting good results or positive results because now you are actually giving some energy to the process of that decision. And you're going to start seeing a pattern of weightlessness, a pattern of feeling faith-filled, God confident, of feeling secure in your being. You're not running from anything because you're not hiding anything. People can take you at your face value because your face value is the real value, is the authentic you. And you will develop this pattern, um, this, I don't know exactly what I want to call it, but you will be able to look back over a period of time and say, I've had a pretty good 6 months here. I've had a pretty good run of avoiding chaos. Yeah, because the way you're making decisions is different now. Because when you make poor decisions or your decision making tendency is unhealthy, the way that you go about it, you're just reacting off the cuff. You're not taking authority over your right and responsibility and privilege and honor to make good decisions. Then it puts you in a tailspin of reaction mode, cover up mode, manipulation mode. And when you avoid that, you find that, yeah, this has been a pretty good year. Everything I purchased, I believe that we needed it and we've used it. I haven't had to argue with my husband one time over anything that I went out and purchased for our household, right? Or it could be something to do with your wife, right? Or your partner. I'm not in a position where I have to hide things in my trunk anymore because I have to figure out how I'm going to bring in thousands of dollars of goods that I purchased and make it look like I've had them. You don't think your wife can tell when you're pimping out your ride and buying stuff that you told her we didn't have any money, or that bill's gonna have to be passed through a little bit. I don't have it right now to cover that, right? We no longer have to lie and manipulate. We can make very good decisions by giving ourselves an opportunity to make those good decisions. So today, let's focus on that, how to make decision making a lot more easy, a lot more healthy, and they will render more positive results in our life. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you this morning, and I am going to be talking to you soon again for the Spiritual Principle a Day in a Meditation, and I will be talking to you tomorrow.